Tonight, tough talk from the Premier on Tasmania's share of GST funding.
We will fight any government from anywhere who threatens that.
Also tonight, young men pay their respects to Eurydice Dixon and vow to fight for change. Donald Trump strikes China with $50 billion in tariffs, prompting Beijing to respond in kind.
And I'm James Glenday here in Kazan for the Socceroos' first World Cup match. The Green and Gold Army has well and truly arrived and is hoping Australia can pull off a massive upset and beat France.
Good evening, Angela Ross with ABC News. Tasmania's Premier has promised to fight any government which threatens the state's share of GST revenue. Will Hodgman issued the warning to senior Liberal figures at the party's national conference. The opposition has seized on the comments, saying it contradicts the State Treasurer's assurances Tasmania's GST funding is not at risk. Fiona Blackwood reports.
Fighting words from the Premier.
Tasmania deserves its fair share of the GST, and we will fight any government from anywhere who threatens that.
At the same Liberal conference, party members called on the Turnbull government to sell off the ABC and move Australia's embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. The non-binding motions were debated as Liberal heavyweights implored members to lock in behind Malcolm Turnbull and focus on winning the next election. Political reporter Jane Norman reports from Sydney.
When the sideshow becomes the main event.
Good to see you. Thank you.
At this Liberal love-in, there were only eyes for John Howard.
Comedians are taking to the stage tonight in Melbourne in a tribute to performer Eurydice Dixon, who was killed this week. Police returned to the scene of the shocking crime today to confront tough questions about safety and violence against women.
Marching shoulder to shoulder after the final siren had sounded.
Thousands of Syrian refugees are caught in the middle of an escalating dispute between Lebanon's foreign minister and the UN Refugee Agency. 3,000 Syrians have registered to return to their homeland, and UN staff have been checking they understand the risks they might face. But the foreign minister says that undermines Lebanese sovereignty. Middle East correspondent Matt Brown reports from the Lebanese border town of Arsal.
He may be greeted like a saviour, but he's embroiled in a bitter dispute.
New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is due to give birth tomorrow, and while becoming a mother is a life changer for any woman, Ms Ardern will have added challenges. Leading a nation while raising a child will be demanding, but the majority of the country has confidence she'll meet the challenge. Zoe Ford reports from New Zealand.
Wherever Jacinda Ardern goes, well wishes follow.
Good luck for what's to come.
This agricultural fair at Hamilton was the New Zealand leader's last public event before her baby's due date.
2 Sydney men have been extradited to Queensland and will face court accused of planning to smuggle more than $100 million worth of cocaine into Australia. The men, aged 57 and 63, landed in Brisbane last night and were taken to the watch house. Police allege the pair is part of a drug cartel which was conspiring to bring 300 kilograms of cocaine into the country from Peru via Singapore and Papua New Guinea. Socceroos coach Bert van Marwijk says his side will need a bit of luck in its opening World Cup game against France in Russia tonight. While the French are expected to dominate on the pitch, off the field the Socceroos have plenty of vocal support. Australia takes on the star-studded side in the city of Kazan, where Europe correspondent James Glenday reports.
Most Socceroos fans expect to be in Russia for a good time, not a long time, and they've turned the pubs of Kazan green.
James Glenday there. The Sydney Swans have ended West Coast's 10-game winning streak and surged into premiership contention with victory at the SCG last night. The Swans were kept scoreless in the first and final quarters, but the inaccurate Eagles couldn't capitalise, going down by 15 points. To the weather, and it was a cold and wet wintry day across the state, although showers were light in the northeast and east. The top temperatures were as much as 4 degrees below average. The highest was 14 in Devonport. It got to 11 in Hobart and 12 in Launceston. Yesterday and overnight, the highest rainfall was 42 millimetres at Queenstown. On the national satellite sequence, you can see convective cloud over Tasmania and the southeast of Australia, as well as the Tasman Sea, all associated with complex low pressure south and east of the state. Tomorrow's synoptic chart shows the low moving slowly east to northeast in the Tasman Sea, with troughs continuing to circulate around it and cross Tasmania from south to north. Interstate tomorrow, it'll be sunny in Perth, Brisbane and Darwin. There'll be showers in Adelaide, rain in Melbourne, and it'll be windy in Sydney. For Tasmania, showers about the west coast, south and east, falling as snow to around 1,000 metres. Hail is possible in the south. Expect a top of 12 in Hobart, Strahan, St Helens and Swansea, and 13 in Launceston, Burnie and Devonport. Sunrise will be at 7:39. The coastal waters 20 to 30 knots, reaching 30 to 40 knots offshore about the north during the morning. The swell 5 to 6 metres in the west and south, up to 4 metres on the east coast and 1.5 metres in the north. There's a gale warning for western coastal waters from Low Rocky Point to Stanley for southerly winds, a strong wind warning for all remaining coastal waters and a small craft wind alert for the Central Plateau Lakes. There's also a flood watch for southern river basins. The outlook for Monday, showers about the south and east, mainly about the coast, and on Tuesday, fine apart from coastal showers about the east and north. Well, that's the news for now. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.